Yes, I love that countdown. You got to love it. And I was just
That
digging
was
the
good.
music. I was digging the music as we go through.
I
So,
was
hi.
too.
Hi, this is Recovery Mode Podcast at Pushbound EDU. My name is Robert Knowles, aka Silas Knowles, aka whatever you want to find me on Facebook and Twitter. We'll put all the socials and stuff like that out there later. Joining us today is our chapter contributor, chapter 15, Rachelle Dene Poth, talking about innovation and everything else. Hi, how are you, dear?
I am great. I tell you what, that music, I was like, don't no, restart it because I was enjoying it, and I've seen that you can choose that in StreamYard,
Yes.
and I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking that I might just keep testing it out just to get that beat going, especially on a Friday, right? Melody and I need to do that in the mornings. I think we need to do that countdown.
By the way, StreamYard, if you're listening or watching, we love you. You want to sponsor, Thrive, and Pushbound Consulting Recovery Mode, we can talk. That's fine. We love you guys. We use you all the time. So
I love that you just did that.
hey, there's always time. We got to push what we got to plug when we got to plug. So
Right.
Definitely, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we're here, school's starting soon. Some people in the world, school's already started. I know my children start school in a week or two. I am a high school teacher. I start in a week or two. Basically, this is why we're here, Recovery Mode. This is our free 158-page ebook located on pushboundconsulting.com. Definitely download it, read it, share it to educators, share it to administrators. This is something that we're all talking about right now. School is back in session. What is it going to look like? How do we integrate? How do we help students? How do we help them in this rapid emerging, unexpected, and rapid change? How do we help educators be the best they can be? And also, if you're looking for to integrate professional development into your school, if you're an administrator or an educator, please reach out to us on our Twitter feed, Facebook feed, LinkedIn, everywhere, pushboundconsulting.com. We will be able to help you. We have a team of people. Our contributors to this book is our team to help you. We have all these experts to be able to help you integrate what schools should be looking like for you going into the fall. So, Rachelle, as we were talking before we came on, this lady is everywhere. I woke up, she was on Facebook. I went to lunch, she was on Facebook on a different channel. She has like 13 more calls today. So before we get started, who are you? What makes you tick? Like, who is Rachelle Dene Poth?
Oh my God. And what's so funny that you left out is that you asked me if I sleep, which is, I mean, that's one of probably usually like the first question that I'm asked is, do you sleep? And sometimes it's, are there 3 or 4 or more of you? And I say, I wish there were, because I would just assign different tasks for the other Rachelles to do. But
Rachelle number 2, you do this. Rachelle number 3, you're going to go on Thrive. Rachelle number 4, we have a Twitter chat,
I mean, wouldn't that be great though?
I would be, I people who know me closely know that when I get lazy, I can get very lazy. That would just be an entry to laziness 3.0. It would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I could see how that can happen. No, I mean, I obviously I'd like to stay busy with learning and connecting. And I mean, I'm a teacher, a consultant, author, attorney, clearly love school, love writing. Never thought that was something that I would do. Actually, when I was 18, I thought I would write a book in the style of John Grisham at the time. And I thought, well, I could clearly write a book just like John Grisham or Mary Higgins Clark. It's just, and I always talk about watching the Olympics. And maybe somebody said, no, I've never done that. But I said, you get this thing where you see the ice skating or the gymnastics and you think, I could totally do that because it looks so easy. And then you go to the ice arena and you're like, I can't even put these on. Like, I can't do it. So in my mind, I thought I could write a book just like they could. But nope, that book never happened, clearly. But I enjoy sharing what I'm doing.
But you're still young. You can possibly write that John Grisham novel or mystery Karen Slaughter, or I can start throwing people out. What is it? Danielle Sylvia? What is it?
Oh yeah, Danielle Steele. Is that what it was?
Danielle Steele. That
right?
Yeah. You always see her in the romance books, but she's always like, I didn't know she wrote children's books.
Really?
Yeah, she wrote children's books. And I was like, I've seen Danielle Steele, and I'm just like, okay, these are clearly adult themed titles. And then I found out she wrote a children's book, and I'm just like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I did not know that. And she's another one that I used to like to read a lot of her novels. I just like the style of them. I mean, it was just consistent. And there were probably those 3 were the ones that I read. I couldn't get the next book fast enough. And when I would find out there wasn't a next book, I was like, what do I do now? What do I read? I mean, it was just like, of course, now we don't have that problem. There are so many books out there to choose from. But back then, no, it was a big deal.
Definitely. Now, I heard you say you're a teacher and a lawyer, an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
How I'm a teacher. I have no time. How do you fit that into your like what kind of attorney are you, and how do you actually fit that in?
Well, another thing that I get asked is like, why did you quit being an attorney, become a teacher? And that's not how it happened. I was actually teaching and then decided to go to law school at the time. So I'd been teaching full time. I forget how many years, but it all started because when I graduated from college, I only had a degree in teaching French. I couldn't find a job. So somebody suggested that I go back and get certified to teach history, which wasn't anything that I didn't see like a really close connection with that. So I got the Spanish. And during that time, I took some translation courses, started to read about legal things, and just, I don't know, I had an interest in it, but didn't give it too much consideration. And then ended up taking the test to see, could I go to law school? Got the score. I don't know what this means. So let it go. And then finally I decided, and I didn't do it to get out of teaching, but I finally decided, you know what, I'm just going to apply. And in Pittsburgh, we have Pitt and we also have Duquesne, but Duquesne is the only one that has the evening program. And I wasn't going to quit teaching. I was going to still teach. So while teaching full time, I went to Duquesne, and it was a 4-year, 4-night-a-week program. So I wasn't kidding about school. I was legitimately in school all day. And I remember getting the acceptance letter. I didn't tell anybody I was applying. I just kind of did it for myself to find out. And then when I got the letter, I thought, all right, got a decision to make. And now I say, I don't know how I did that. Like, I could never do it again, even though I'm so busy. We're all so busy, but I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that I did it. And as far as what do I practice, I don't actually technically practice, because the area that I wanted to go into was criminal law.
Okay.
That was my main focus area, but I did do some estate planning, and I'm always getting calls for different things. Can you look this over? Can you check it? But two things.
Why didn't I know this? I had estate planning. I needed a lawyer for estate planning. You could have come.
I know.
Then I did them. No offense to my current lawyer is listening. I love you, but you got to shop the bargains, baby. You got to shop the bargains.
Yeah. And it probably would have been a bargain price too, because, they say you get what you pay for. No, I'm just kidding. That's terrible. But no, I mean, that law school experience helped me, one, because I don't think I would still be in teaching had it not been for that experience. And two, it comes in handy for a lot of reasons in the classroom, just different things that happen, with the students. And I took forensics and criminal like investigations and stuff. So I'm pretty good at knowing what was actually an accident in the classroom versus it was an intentional whatever happened. But the other part about it is being a consultant, just working with different people or companies or whatever, just drawing up agreements and things. So it's not something that, I definitely would never regret it, because people will say, well, you're not practicing. And I say, yeah, but all that I gained from that, I can't even put into words. But
and it just, even with the educational part of it, is just like the argumentative sense. It's like you can pretty much shut down any student. Like, it's just like, hey, Jimmy, she's a lawyer, bro. Oh, I'm not gonna waste, because your job is like professional arguments of like all this factual stuff. So it's just one of those things where you have all those, because I know lawyers, man, I happen to have a couple of friends who are, and I just have nothing but respect, because I know what you guys have gone through to get to where you need to be. So it's just, it's one of those things where there's a long road, and it's great. It's a good payoff at the end. So when it comes to school and it comes to our wonderful new normal that we have, looking at your chapter and everything, it really starts off interesting. What can you tell us what you mean by innovation doesn't always mean using technology?
Yeah, that innovation itself can be a scary word, because I think even for myself, for a long time, I thought, I'm not innovative, I'm not creative, because I just had this definition of what I thought it was. And I thought it meant that I have to use technology, or I have to know all of these emerging technologies or trends, but it doesn't mean that. Technology is great, but it's only great if it's used with purpose. And of course, assuming that all of our students have access to whatever it is that they need to engage in that type of learning. But the piece about, the technology, I love regular projects. It doesn't have to be done with some digital tool, but for some teachers thinking about innovation, it just means like doing something different. And so stepping out of whatever maybe your comfort zone, and especially at the end of this past school year, I mean, that was a huge opportunity for us to try something that maybe we didn't have time for. We were afraid to try. We didn't know where to start, or we ran out of ideas. I mean, I was kind of all of those things at one point at the end of the school year. And so just thinking about innovating, it's just making, a subtle change. It doesn't have to be something that's really big. I mean, it can be. I mean, you can decide, you know what? I've never used augmented reality in my classroom, so I'm just going to give it a try. And it might go great. It might go not so well, but it puts you out there to kind of take some risk. It's also a good model for students. And, there's a lot of learning to be done in that, and stepping away and taking more risks as our role as educators, and just even in our regular lives.
So speaking of augmented reality, you have a good transition here now. StreamYard, we love you, but they also have the ability to upload video clips. So I want to give you guys a video clip of Rachelle in action, actually talking about what we just talked about. Give us 1 sec.
Hi, my name is Rachelle Dene Poth, and I am a Spanish and STEAM teacher. And I am always looking for innovative ways to teach in my classroom and to give my students learning opportunities that not only engage them with the content, but to kind of immerse them more in learning and to really engage them. And so one of the ways that I've done that over the last couple of years is with augmented and virtual reality tools. And what I love about it is that it really helps educators create these innovative learning spaces that transform the how and where students are learning, and give students a chance to hold things right in their hand and explore in a more meaningful way. And so I think that these different tools are really beneficial for student learning, and can definitely get started in your classroom right away, and you'll see student engagement increase.
Yay. See, I love these features. These features are awesome.
That was awkward because I had no idea. And I'm thinking, that person sounds like me. And then I see the video and I thought, have I even moved from this chair? Because I'm still in the same space where I was.
You can see your office kind of transition from however long ago that was to now.
I know.
And you can see it's like, wow, I didn't have that picture of. I was like, how long ago was this?
It would have been really awkward if I was wearing the same shirt.
Yeah, that would have been too cool.
That has happened to me. That has happened to me.
It's like,
a time or two.
Did you take that video today? No.
I know. No. I don't even know where that video actually came. I can't remember. I think I remember it, but yeah.
So in your chapter, and this is, I think, one of the things that a lot of teachers stress with and have a lot of problems with now. I know I have. Where do we begin? Like going back into the fall, like where do we begin when it comes to planning and connecting with our students and everything else to really have a successful space to learn and to connect and to do everything we need to do to make sure that they have a successful fall semester?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about prior school years of what I've done in normal school years is I've always taken what has happened at the end of the school year, and I get my students to have conversations with me, or I use surveys or just the one-on-one conversations to get the feedback. And I kind of process all of that over the summer. And then, of course, with summer learning, come back with some fresh new ideas. But at the start of this year, because it's unlike any other year, I think that the biggest thing is, one, think about all of the things that you would normally start your year with. Are you figuring out how to communicate with parents? Are you setting up ways to connect with students? Are you getting to just know students, focusing on social emotional learning, for example? And there's so many things to do. We can't do all the things because it can be overwhelming, but I would say focus on something, actually maybe two things. One thing that you realize that didn't go as well when the school year ended. And then the biggest thing I think is important to figure out how we're going to communicate. If we're in our classrooms, that's great. If we're in hybrid or distance learning or have to transition, and I think it's just important to figure out what is it that we can do that is going to be effective and helpful and beneficial in all of that, regardless of where we physically are. And I think finding that connection point and making sure that it works for our students and for their families to support the students as well is really important, because who knows, as the year progresses, we might be making those shifts back and forth for this year, for the next year. And I think just focusing on something that can work regardless of focusing on the actual space is probably where I will start, because that's the only thing we can kind of control at this point.
Right, right. It's just, I don't know. I'm sure in Pittsburgh, you guys are doing or not project based, excuse me. Remote learning. Most of us are, and we have, my particular high school has an interactive remote learning plan. That's what they're calling it, where
Okay.
we're have by appointment, students can come in and see us for short periods of time, socially distant stuff like that, to have that one-on-one contact to help them, or to mentor them, tutor them to what they need to do. But it's one of those weird things that it's just, this time is just picking the space and trying to pick that one thing to try and improve upon. Because I know in March it was I don't know, I was like, everything just got thrown up in the air, and we're just like, what are we gonna do? It's just,
Yeah.
it was just, I don't know. Now I feel a little bit better now because of the structure, but it's one of those things where I don't know. There's still a lot of unknown where it's just, and hold on, wait, and then we'll do this. There's a
Uh-oh.
lot of unknown and everything else, but that's why you should download Recovery Mode. Sorry. Cheap plug. I had to do it.
It's okay.
So when we go a little bit into your chapter, you have a lot of your favorite innovative ways for students to learn. And you said you teach fourth grade, right?
No.
Okay. What do you teach?
I don't know. Do I? No. I teach Spanish and STEAM. So my students are in grades 8 through 12.
Okay. So when we're talking about things, and these are some of the things that, that I think a lot of educators are familiar with, like Kahoot, Quizlet Live, GimKit, things of that nature,
Right.
Choice, digital breakout, choice boards, and project-based learning. What do you think is the most successful ways you've seen your students learn digitally, like in that way? What do you foresee them being most successful with when you go back into, if you're already in the fall or going back to the fall? What ways do you think they would be most successful when given those ways you state in your chapter?
Yeah, I know that at the end of the year, and I mean, these are things that I've done in my classroom for years, but I found that especially at the end of the year, where I didn't have students joining in necessarily all at the same time, because it wasn't, the meetings weren't mandatory. And although I did have a lot of students join in because they just wanted that normal kind of part of their day, they wanted to be connected with their classmates. But things like, again, I keep going back to, regardless of the space, so using things like the choice boards or HyperDocs or project-based learning, where students have an opportunity to kind of explore things that are interesting to them, to set their own schedule and to balance all of that and kind of just be independent in their learning. I've seen just so much growth in my own students using those, and also because I could give them a lot of different options for creating rather than just kind of consuming whatever it is that I'm sharing with them. And I know that regardless of what content area you teach or grade level, I mean, those are things that you can use in any level, and really do give students a lot of opportunities to just learn on their own, but also build the skills that they need. I always say in the future, but like now and in the future.
Definitely.
There's just so many benefits to any one of those. I mean, just choosing one or trying two of them and seeing how it works. And if one doesn't really work that well, I always ask the students first, like, why didn't that work so well? Or do you have any suggestions? But I mean, there's so many other options out there, or even Genius Hour. And it's not like a lot of these are really time consuming for teachers, because I know we don't all have a ton of extra time in our schedules. But the nice thing is that we can take a lot of those great choices out there, put them into one space, and let our students then choose which one is most interesting to them, or that they're kind of curious about.
Well said. Yes, I think student choice and student voice is going to be so big this time going around, so you can get them better engaged. Because talking to students after the fact, it was all over the board. Well, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to get involved. But having that multitude of choices, I think, is an awesome way to look at it. There is one thing I wanted to ask, and this is something that I'm not too familiar with. I mean, I believe I understand, but I've not experienced it. What is place-based learning?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me that one. Yeah, it's because that is not something that I really knew a lot about. And honestly, a lot of the things that I've started to write about or use in my classroom are ideas that came to me when I started to write blogs for Getting Smart. Because for years I was writing about what I was doing in my classroom, because that was kind of easy, just sharing, okay, this is what it looks like, these were our challenges, and doing that. But then with Getting Smart, they had different monthly themes. And over time, I mean, that's how I got into artificial intelligence and augmented virtual reality and place-based learning. So that was a concept that I thought, I don't really know that much about it. And once you read about them or you see some examples, you think, oh, okay, I guess maybe some of our teachers are kind of doing that. But the idea is that it gives students an opportunity to kind of connect with things that are happening in their own community, also, I mean, just in the world in general. And so local community businesses can set up for students to go in and take a tour, or job shadows, for example, and giving students a chance to take what they're learning in their classroom and see it being applied out in the real world. And I know that a great book by Tom Vander Ark, and he had some co-authors with that as well, came out not that long ago. Well, when I say not that long ago, it was probably like 6 months ago at this point, because the time
in COVID, that's a while ago.
I have to keep looking at the calendar, because the one day I thought, wait, is it September yet? No, it's July. But especially whenever schools are closed, I mean, opportunities like project-based learning or place-based learning, where you can reach out or just do things in your community. I know in my school, one of our teachers teaches ecology. For many years, she took her students to some local places to have them say, okay, this is what we learned in class. Now I want you to go and kind of explore this, and it's hands-on learning, and they're kind of connecting with the place they live. So it's, of course, more meaningful to them. And I know for me, if I would have had that a lot more when I was younger, I probably would have done better in some of my science classes.
The what ifs, it's like,
right.
If. That's awesome. That's awesome. So one interesting question, I think, and I've been trying to impose one question for every one of my podcasts to really dig into what we can do to help recover for educators and administrators. So if you were to tell or advise, sorry, because we don't have all the answers.
Yeah, right.
But if you were to advise, what one book, besides Recovery Mode, obviously, what one book should be in every educator's professional development library to help them during this new normal? What do you think? I mean, is there one book that stands out to you that would be helpful now during this time?
Wow, that's a stumper for me. Yeah, because it's hard whenever you say pick one. I can never just pick one. I mean, there are so many great books out there, and
well, give me a couple.
Give me a couple. I could be awkward, just name mine, but I'm gonna ask you about yours anyway. But you know what? Honestly, I think that something is. I do see a lot of people doing book studies and sharing books that they're reading, because everybody's just trying to absorb as much information as they can. And I've been doing the exact same thing. But I also know that a lot of people, teachers, not teachers, are, I don't know, just worn out, burnout, and just feeling that frustration, feeling overwhelmed right now. And back in the fall, I had gotten a book from Glenn Robbins, and it was Stillness is the Key. And that is a book that I recommended because it started me on I start every day by reading, and it really forced me to take time to just sit and read and focus on something different. And there's a lot of quotes and things that are in it, but finding a book that's like that works for you, that's kind of a break to make sure that you're focusing on self-care in some way, or kind of getting away from all of the stress that we're all feeling, because it is for everybody. I mean, it's not specific to anybody right now. So I think, tons of great books in education, but I think for some people, finding a book like that you can read, and either it's quotes, it's stories, it's just, true things from history, or even a book that has different educator stories that are sharing their experiences on different topics, just so you can kind of connect with somebody else. I think that's important as well.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, there's so many. My PD library is over the summer grown exponentially. It just, I gotta stop you guys from doing these books. I'm forcing myself just to buy Kindle versions because I'm running out of library space. It's like, yeah, Dave Burgess Publishing, love you, but God, I know. You guys.
No, I have the biggest stack of books, of DBC books, and I used to get so excited when, okay, here's a new one, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have any more room and I don't really like Kindle that much, except for just the fact that you can take it wherever you go and you can pull it up and read it. But I like the book itself, but I did get a few books on Kindle because they weren't available when I wanted them, and there were 3 that I really wanted to read in July. So.
Yeah. I had to revert to Kindle because I'm just running out of book space. You guys, Dave, the Teach Better team, everyone is just pushing out so much great material. That's just like, It's like,
I
guys, come
know.
on. It's just like, there's so much information.
Yeah, and
So,
EduMatch too. EduMatch has,
oh,
I
yeah.
think, over 50 titles now. Because somebody put out a list to see how many do you have, and I think I had a good 35 or 36 of them at that point. So,
And
yeah.
everyone who's an avid reader, they have that big stack next to them. They're just like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
it's like,
There's over
it's like I
here.
get to this one, but I just got this one, and then I get to this one, but I got this one, and it's just like it's a never-ending thing. So,
I know.
readers, we feel your struggle. It's just people who read,
Totally.
we feel your struggle. So, what you want to put? Because I want to be mindful of your time, because I know you got to go soon. What is your socials, things you're working on, things you want to plug right now? I see your Twitter handle on your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anything else you want to put out there social wise?
Let's see. I mean, I do have my Thrive in EDU group that I would love for anybody to join in because it's a great space on Facebook. I have a couple book studies going on with Book Camp PD right now. My ISTE book is up this month, and then next month is my book Unconventional. And I mean, they're like, you asked me a question about a lot of books, and these books would be quite helpful at this time, just because it's not just me sharing stories. Actually, some of my students shared their experience with the digital tools. And so anybody who's looking for ideas and some of the topics that we talked about, I mean, they're in there, but
Very
I don't
cool.
know. They're
Very
in there.
cool. Very
Thanks.
cool. So everyone, please be safe. Please wear your mask. Do the social distancing thing. Please take care of each other, your families, and everything else. Rachelle, always a pleasure. Just love talking to you. And definitely anything in the future, if you want to sit and talk about stuff in the future, we'll talk and see what's going on. We'll put some stuff out there as well. For everyone else, just a reminder of everyone to, we're here from Recovery Mode, pushboundconsulting.com. Please go to pushboundconsulting.com to download our 158-page ebook. We have been talking to our Chapter 15 consultant, Rachelle Dene Poth. Rachelle, have a great day. We'll
You
talk
too.
soon. Everyone else, please be safe. And what are you guys doing to push the boundaries of your classroom, either virtually or in a classroom? And, just remember, we're here for our students. So everyone have a great day. We'll see you soon. See you next week.
See ya.